stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up. I'm
All the way up.
I'm all the way up. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
Hold on. Kill it. Hold on. I want y'all to understand the significance of that song that I chose, right? Understanding the significance of what we're headed into in this new environment. Is there fear out there? Is there uncertainty? Are agents shaken out there, right? When I heard this song, I was at the gym working out, and this sort of started playing. And the lyrics of the song say, "Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up." That's what it says. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. So what I want you to consider this as we talk about these things we're going to talk about, because it can be a little dry, maybe, right? Talking about title and mortgage and the lawsuits and things like that, right? It can be a little bit scary, right? Or a little bit dry or boring. But we don't want that. So if you are committed to the next 12 months of your real estate career being the best that you've ever seen, just you're the only one, right? Is anybody else committed to making the next 12 months the best in their real estate career? And is not going to let anything stop you. If you know that nothing can stop you, no matter what lawsuit, no matter what comes out of DOJ, no matter what happens in the environment with buyer commission, seller commission, if you know nothing can stop you and you're all the way up, stand up, DJ, kick that again, and we'll do it together.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
All the way up.
I'm all the way up.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
What you want, shorty, what you need.
All right.
Run the game, we ain't never.
So, Jason, nothing can stop us. We're all the way up. Jason Peck, by the way, I get this question all the time on who my sponsor is. Who told Tony King about EXP? Jason Peck. So, that said, Jason, tell us a little bit about yourself first, right? And tell us about, I think there's an elephant in the room. The elephant in the room right now is these lawsuits and around what's happening and how EXP is going to react and what we can and can't do. So start with the introduction and then tell us about the lawsuit stuff.
So, it's on.
It's on. It's not as loud as mine, though.
He asked that question. I told him not to because I was going to regret being his sponsor. So, my name's Jason Peck. I'm the Center of Excellence Director with EXP. I'm actually based in Colorado. I'm actually still in production as well. So even though I have a leadership position with EXP, Texas is one of the states I oversee. Amazing brokerage team brought Tony on board. When they had me take over Texas, it was a little bit of a dumpster fire, plane in the air, building it, no engines, that type of environment. But with Tony's superior leadership, we were able to build a great team in Texas. So first off, give Tony a hand. Karen Richards, phenomenal. So when the growth opportunity came forward, I mean, Tony was the right person to put in that place. He's doing a phenomenal job there. And then we were able to move Karen into the designated managing broker position. So really what I wanted to talk about was a lot of people, my phone lit up. I had literally just gotten back into town and I was like, I need a vacation. And my phone started lighting up about these social media posts. And I don't even remember what day that was this week, but
it's been a long week. It's been a long week.
And a lot of agents, and by the way, you can always reach out to me, work chat. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me, via work chat. Just send me a direct message if you got questions. So let's talk a little bit about the announcement. And Leo did a great interview. If you've not seen that, it's actually going to be posted, if not already, on the Texas Workplace site. We'll have it in the newsletter this week. But he did a 45-minute interview. He was actually on vacation about the whole we're not going to be doing broker-to-broker compensation. Everybody hear about that? Oh. What's the crux of the lawsuit? What's the crux of the DOJ? Broker-to-broker compensation, right? Right? Can we just agree to that? What we are not saying is that as a listing agent, you can't, somehow it got misconstrued that we're not allowing our agents to negotiate on our seller's behalf when it comes to the new world of concessions, to have different rates, have different business models. We never said that. So I just want to be clear about that, first and foremost. I think the most important thing when we go to August 17th, because I got pulled into a meeting out here, and it's amazing. Fortunately, take a deep breath with Texas. You are in a great place. Very, very good place, because I was dealing with another state where literally they just came out with a form, and I'm like, this has antitrust violations written all over it. What are you guys doing? Right? Broker-to-broker compensation. California recently came out with a document that just got totally blasted by Consumer Federation. And actually in that blast, they actually talked about EXP's buyer rep toolkit and said that it would be prudent that other companies and states would follow EXP's lead. And I don't know if you saw that a few weeks ago. I don't like to take credit for that, but yes, I'll take credit. I led that group in creating that. And here's the thing that was most important about that is that we came out with the first version. We're on version 2.0. And as you'll hear from Leo in that video, we are open sourcing these documents. We are not copywriting them. We want to lead the industry. We want to be that company of change and make sure that we are not following down a path that maybe someone else is leading us and kind of controlling things. So with the new listing documents, understand that they're on a national level. Texas, you're fortunate that you have a lot of documents in place, and Texas has made some moves to deal with the new norm come August 17th. What we have to be cautious about, and this is really where it comes down to in the crux, if you're doing broker-to-broker compensation, you're opening yourself up to litigation. Are we clear on that? Okay. The other factor is that there's going to be websites out there. You know that there's things out there where, hey, we're going to have co-ops on our sites. Guess what? That's the future of future lawsuits. So we are encouraging our agents not to participate in those things. Now, if you choose to, that's on you. But we're talking about is getting rid of the broker-to-broker compensation and having the seller have that conversation with the seller directly about how would you like to compensate the buyer agent if that comes up. So I've operated this way for a long time. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my commission's 3.4%. What you have to decide today is what you want to potentially market to a buyer's agent, okay? And I'd lay out comps and show them the differences with what houses sell for in their area based on the compensation that their seller's offering, days on market, and ultimately what they do. In my market, we've shifted to concessions, okay? It's semantics, what we're dealing with. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just want to be clear with that. I've dealt with a lot of conversations. I think that maybe there's some information left out. And quite frankly, we have amazing agents that within a minute of explaining it, they're like, oh, okay, cool. So I went very lengthy there, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Listen, we love hearing Jason nerd out on this stuff. I promise you. If you have a question at EXP, hit them up. Where can they reach you on specific EXP questions about this?
Yeah.
You grab the mic.
Yeah, you can hit me up. I was involved with the listing side too. So we're always open to feedback. And realize that some of those documents might not be applicable. Some of them can be a resource. Some of them can be an additional addenda if you want to use it as an addenda. We just want to make sure that when you move forward, when it comes to protecting your commission as a buyer agent or a listing agent, that you have it in writing, you're disclosing it up front, and that ultimately it's to protect you.
100%. And if you have not subscribed to two things, firstly, you need to be on. It's not time for the questions yet. I promise you we'll get there. So I didn't want you to be sitting there for like 10 minutes with your hand up, but we'll get there. So yes, if you're not subscribed to the EXP YouTube channel, you're wrong, right? That's where our CEO, that's where Leo comes out, that's where Holly comes out, that's where Jason will come out and give us the day-to-day, because this thing is changing, is it not? It's changing almost on a daily basis. So if you want the most up-to-date information, you got to be subscribed to the YouTube channel. And also on Workplace Chat, you want to be a part of the announcements group, the EXP announcements group in Workplace Chat. So that's it. All right, title, right? So how are these changes affecting us from a title standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've already introduced myself not that long ago, but if you weren't in the room, I'm Tiffany Honzik McAllister, attorney for Capital Title, also VP of Growth and Development. With that, I do a lot of our education. So first and foremost, when the forms came out, of course, we were tasked with how do we want to go about educating agents? Yes, we want the brokers to be the ones, but we all know in the title industry, what do y'all want from us? Education, classes, and our employees want us to be able to offer that. And so we were kind of in the situation where I really felt like this is a broker, this is a company thing. They need to be leading the forefront on these docs, but we have to also acknowledge that we have a need to serve our agents as well from a business development perspective. When we went to go research everything, we started watching every webinar that we could think of that was popping up, including Texas Realtors. And what I quickly found out was they might not even know how to teach on their forms. And it kind of made me scratch my head thinking, how do we do this when the forms are out and I can't even make it up? We're talking how often and quickly things are changing. We're studying the forms to get our scripts ready, and a pop-up comes that something has already been changed. And so there you go. We've got to pivot again. And so that's what we're doing right now. And I know that we sometimes overuse the word pivot, but that's what we have to do. What we're seeing is not that long ago, when I was standing in front of crowds, I'd say, well, we're not teaching on the lawsuits. We're not talking about the lawsuits because those are years down the road. Years down the road is when a mediation happens or a lawsuit ever even gets confirmed. And even then there's an appeal period. So we weren't even talking about that in, early this year, and then look what happened. So we always have to stay on our feet, but what I do know is your brokerage is at the forefront of excellence when it comes to preparing their agents. They're looking into the future of, okay, if things are changing this quickly, what's next? How do we protect our agents? And how do we set the standard? Because the standard is, right now, the forms were given to us, and a lot of new forms, a lot of changes. And there are some things when I'm teaching it that made me scratch my head. And then here we are within a couple weeks of them coming out, people are starting to use them. And then the calls start coming in. And I have brokers, smaller brokers, mind you, and people that have their own brokerage and agents that are out on their own, and they're calling me for the assistance, and I'm scratching my head by some of the questions they're asking. And so that's why I'm so grateful for the partnership with you guys, because I'm going to have some learning lessons and some great things from the way y'all are doing things with your documents so that we can go and help everybody else, because there is a lot of unknown, and it's still going to happen. There's going to be a lot of changes. We're all going to rise up, we're going to stand up, we're going to do our thing, and we're going to pivot, and we're going to make sure that we are the best that we can be. And as a title company, we're going to do that. The one thing I want to say, because I know this is coming, when it comes to time to get paid, it is still going through your brokerage. I've had multiple people be told by other title companies that the buyer will pay or their agent, just hand them a check. What about cash? And no. You are still going to get a CDA to title. The brokerage is still getting paid. Even if it's one of those showing fees, maybe you're doing just a showing only and you decided to charge for that, that all has to go through your brokerage. Every single dollar that you're going to get paid for anything related with the purchase of the property or the sale of the property needs to run through your broker. And we're already getting asked that left and right.
Love it. Thank you so much, Tiffany. All right. So, Sean Cockrell, one of the amazing managing brokers for EXP in Texas. Give it up for your managing broker team. Can y'all? We got Karen, we got Rick Snow, we got a few others. Yeah, for sure. It's hard work. I can promise you. I've been there. So, tell us from a Texas specific perspective. We love Jason, but Jason ain't never had no Texas real estate license. So we do think, is Texas his own country? Yes. All right. Tell us from a Texas perspective about all this stuff, right? So what does it look like from a TAR, from a Texas realtor, from a TREC standpoint? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a lot of things that are happening right now, right? Misunderstanding of NAR, misunderstanding of TREC, TXR. The biggest thing is that your team here in Texas is doing diligently work every day, in and out, hours in, hours out. There's a special team that we have put together to help better understand what these documents are, but we're going to ensure that you get paid. You all want to get paid, right?
We like that. Somebody should say, yeah.
So the biggest thing there is letting letting us understand what we need to do. We need to actually digest the whole process. Be prepared. There will be a video that's coming out for all of you, just so we're all on the same page about how to get paid. The biggest thing is, yes, there is still stuff on the TREC form and the TXR form for compensation between brokers, right? But that is no longer happening. But there are options for the seller to pay the buyer's broker directly. So this is where we're transitioning. There's one beautiful form that's coming into play, the 2406 form. Get very familiar with that form. That is going to be a form that we're going to be using constantly. So with that being said, we do have a team that is working hours to get this video out to all of you, and we appreciate you taking the patience to be understanding. But I can promise you here in the next week, we're going to have everything that you possibly need. EXP is on the forefront to protect you, and the whole reason behind this is to keep all of you out of lawsuits and EXP. I mean, don't you guys want to be protected as much as possible? That's what we're here for.
Love it, love it. And when that video is ready, where is it coming out? Is it on the go ahead.
You name it. It's going to be out on Workplace. It's going to be probably on our YouTube channel. It's going to be out in our newsletters. It's going to be, you name it. We're going to have links provided to that video wherever you can find it. We're creating a resource of all the past trainings that we have through the NAR settlement with Holly and Leo, with all of our trainings that we've had over the last 5-6 months. There's going to be a separate sheet just exclusively for all of those trainings. So we're prepared. We're going to make sure that we walk through this together. And my word of the year at this time is pivot. Pivot's going to be the time that we do this. We have to be ready for change.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. Now, the lending perspective, right, from our partners at Success, tell us from the lending perspective, how does all this impact agents, or sort of where do we go from here?
We just need to be really careful with your lender because, thank God VA went ahead and put a small caveat right now that the veteran can pay for the commission, okay? That was one of our biggest problems. They haven't made it law yet, but they went ahead and said, okay, we're going to allow this until we get this figured out. So it's just like everything else. It's changing on a daily basis. On FHA and conventional, there's not a big deal. It's not a big issue. The buyer can pay, okay? And we're going to look at concessions a little bit differently now. So we're going to make sure that you guys get taken care of. We're not going to allow that the buyer take everything they need on the deal. So be really careful who your lender is and make sure you're working with somebody that has your back. Because remember, I work for you, okay? You are my client. Even though the borrower comes to me once every 5 or 6 years, you guys come to me every month. I work with you guys day in and day out. So I got to protect my agents to make sure that you guys are taken care of. So that's something that we're going to do on our end to make sure that those concessions are done right and there's not any issues.
I love it. Thank you so much, sir. All right, now Q&A section. I know we had a question here. Yes, we might need 2 mics. Yeah, back.
5.
Redhead in the back. Yeah, right there in the back.
Redhead.
Yes,
Oh,
in the middle.
Cindy.
Of course, she's in the center and the middle. That's how-
Okay, here's Cindy.
We should probably send people to you. There's a big room. Or if we got another mic. Yeah.
Hello. So the first gentleman, could you explain a little bit more when you said the TREC form or the broker to broker is not going to, you open yourself up to a potential lawsuit situation with a broker to broker. If you are doing broker to broker compensation, you are setting yourself up for lawsuits. Could you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the current lawsuit and settlement was about. And Department of Justice wants the commission's they want the consumer to decide, right? They don't want the broker to come in with a fixed commission. So here's the bottom line. A lot of agents around the country were coming in, let's just call it 6%. My commission's 6%. They're not disclosing how it was split up. They're not doing anything like that, right? And in that was how much, they're deciding without allowing the seller to decide or the buyer to decide what that was. So that's at the crux of everything, right? So what we're doing moving forward is you're taking that out of the equation. So if your commission is, as a listing agent, is 3%, you're having the conversation of my commission's 3%, but what you have to decide is what are you willing to do to market to a buyer agent, via concessions, okay? And then what you do is in additional provisions of a contract is the seller instructs me to market blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense?
Oh, hold on, Cindy.
She's interested in seeing the EXP forms.
Yeah, so our listing, the listing document that we've put out this week, and it actually hit SkySlope today, does not have broker-to-broker compensation in there. If the seller's instructing you something different, there's additional provisions in there that you can use. Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's going to have to change. Yeah.
Okay, here's another one back here.
All right, go ahead.
And that's why Sean answered that question earlier with his comment.
I can talk on that.
Yeah, so with regards to that, the conversation piece is happening between compensation between brokers, right? So we're making it a simple process to where you'll be able to do the listing agreement and have in there that the seller is, you'll have in there that the seller's not offering any compensation. That's paragraph 5B. So you would use that. And then 2406 is the magical document that you will use that they've created since June 24th. That right there allows the buyer's agent to negotiate the commission, and all parties have to sign that document. So everyone is aware of it. Nothing's being hidden.
Yeah, and the Texas Realtors form, it does also have the provisions that he's saying the EXP are not going to have. 11F of that document allows for the authorization from the seller to their agent to have those discussions with the buyer and the buyer's agent. As far as the concessions, it states specifically to also potentially include the buyer's broker fees.
So on the buyer side, if you're on the buyer side and the listing agent is offering broker co-op, and what's y'all's guidance for that if we're not doing co-op on our side?
First off, I want you to get broker co-op out of your head. Can we all agree on that? Get broker co-op out of your head. It's a semantics thing that I think a lot of agents, I'm not here on that, but I've had a lot of conversations over the last 72 hours where agents keep focusing on broker co-op, and I'm like, that's going away, right? That's why we said we're not going to do that. Now, there are other brokerages out there that unfortunately have forms that are, as a buyer's agent, they're going to go, hey, we want you to sign this form that's going to have broker co-op on there. They haven't adapted to the new rules or have any clue when it comes to litigation. It might be an indie broker that hasn't sought legal advice, right? But here's the one thing I want to tell all the EXP agents. I'm not going to get in the way, EXP's not going to go get in the way to say, we're not going to allow you to collect on that. We're not going to take food off your table. So first and foremost, I want to get that out to you. Can I get a clap for that? Or so it's like, well, hey. I did I had a chat going earlier, and I said, hey, the beautiful thing of this is that I'm going up right after lunch, and they're going to be in carb coma. So anyways, with that being said, hopefully that makes sense, but I'm elaborating. I'm happy to answer more.
Yeah, that makes sense with me. But so really my question is, if the listing agent has an agreement with their seller for compensation, 6%, 3% to, the selling broker, 3% to the buyer broker, the other company has that agreement with the seller, I've got to ask for concessions. What is the guidance on, as far as compensation for on the buy side? Because am I going to ask them to put that 3% into concessions? Do you get what I'm asking? Does that make
you're
sense?
going to ask them in concessions, yes. And as a buyer's agent, it comes down to what's your value with that, first and foremost. So as a listing agent, I'll be honest with you, this is a beautiful thing. I wouldn't be out there promoting that my seller's willing to offer a 3% concession. What I would be doing is saying my seller's willing to offer buyer agent compensation, bring me an offer, and then let the seller decide what they're willing to pay. Now, in the listing agreement, you might have up to 3% or whatever it might be, right? But your fiduciary duty is to that seller to get them the most net, right? So as a listing agent, I wouldn't be out there throwing percentages around and what you're willing to offer. I would just be very general about it and say, bring me an offer, write it in, and I'll present it. And then from there, you can negotiate from that. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I just had a bunch of hands go up.
Hold on. I'm right here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hi there. In the scenario, the seller agreed with the listing agent for an amount to compensate the buyer's agent. The buyer agent is going to call the listing agent to find out if the buyer is helping the seller is helping the buyer. Is there now a form, or will be a form, very specific form that the buyer's agent will have to do to complete, to send it to the listing agent to formalize that agreement?
Beyond the EXP form, which we actually have, but that's the beautiful thing about being in Texas, and I'll let Sean talk on that. But EXP, part of our package that's out there, is a seller authorization to pay buyer broker. It's a one-page document. Basically, you submit it. The seller signs off on it. The other thing is putting in the purchasing contract, but I'll turn it over to Sean. It's the 2406 form.
So that's a great question. It's the 2406 form. That's the form that you really need to understand the ins and outs of it. Because instead of having to worry about, well, all of you should be picking up the phone and calling the listing agent, right, to build rapport with them, to connect with them, see exactly what you can do to try to get the deal done. The biggest thing, though, is that any offer that's going to be submitted on behalf of the buyer, you're going to include that 2406. That 2406 is going to request the seller pay the buyer's broker X%. And guess what? All parties, as I mentioned before, sign off on that, and they're all aware of what's being paid and where it's going. So 2406 is the document that has come out since June 24th. Get very familiar with it. That's going to be the document to use.
Our new best friend.
I love it. Hey, I'm going to save you, actually. So if you have a question, let's have you stand up and come over and get in line. I know you want to get
I'm right
your steps
here.
in.
I'm right here for her.
Okay, I know you want to get your steps in, but let's make it a little bit easier for you.
Hi, my question is, if you have a listing agreement that was done early this year and we hit August 17th and it's got the old language in it, do you need to redo the listing agreement? Yep.
The answer is yes, unless you're under contract. If you're under contract already, then you don't have to amend it. But yes, if there's no contract in existence or if that terminates, you'll need to amend your listing agreement. And there's an amendment document that will coincide with the new rule changes.
Okay, we have 3 more questions left, then we're going to shut it down. So make these really good.
No pressure. Okay, I was with the RRC listening to Travis Kessler with Texas Realtors just a week ago, Wednesday or something. And he said one of the biggest challenges was when they looked across the nation was that they could see there were set percentages, not that it happened to be everybody planned that it was going to be the 3 and 6%. So he said one of the things to look for is to not get into that 3%. And he said, please, the DOJ told him, don't look for workarounds to get that. So, what does that look like? And do you have any comment on that type of a statement where the percentages seem to be the issue? It's like, because they could go to all the different states, which is why as he put it, the court of public opinion is how he phrased it, looked at us and said, oh, we've fee set. So 3%. So that's now what do I do with that? Or do I need to worry about it? Just because if we still do 3% or 6%.
100%. I mean, that's what got us into this mess, right? And it comes down to now the conversation is expressing your value, whatever your business model is, whatever that amount is, and then going, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have to make a decision on what you want to do to market to bring buyers and potentially compensate a buyer's agent, right? So if you look at the last 15 years, because Colorado, you'll start, and you even hear Leo, he'll say, except for Colorado, right? Colorado's like, hey, welcome. We've been doing this for 15 years, okay? So from that standpoint, if you look at my co-ops, they're all over the place. I've had sellers that have said 1%, and guess what? They end up languishing on the market, right? And I've had some that have offered 3.5, but that's the conversations that you need to have. And that's where I brought up initially, a very big coaching moment for all of you is to take comps on your listing appointments, show them the difference of days on market, what the net price is, because we're dealing with a concession environment as we move forward, what the average concessions are, and break that out and let them make the decision. But this is a big coaching moment, best practice. Don't go out there and advertise 3% or 2%. Leave it vague. And the reason being is because you're going to help your sellers net more money. You're going to force buyer agents to actually call you Yes. Right? Okay. Are you willing to offer compensation? Yes. Go ahead and write what you think you're worth in a contract. Yeah.
Well, I want to piggyback on that real quick. So we're talking about what is your value, right? How much are you worth to represent a client? People are creating tiers. Are you going to create a 3-tier system? I will do this, or you'll get the full Sean Cockrell and I'll do this. So, I mean, ideally, it's really what your business model is. We have to get away from the 3%, the 6%. That's just something that we keep hearing from HGTV and all those $1 million listings. And
It's
easy math. So what is your true value? Break down your P&L and figure out your business model and what your hourly rate is. What is your hourly rate and what you're doing? And then provide that value to your client. If you're the buyer's agent that says, hey, I'll show you a house, I'll write the contract, we'll move on to closing, it's going to be a struggle.
Hey, if you got builders that are willing to pay you 5%, why are you not writing 5% in your buyer agency agreement? Right? I've had several top agents in Texas over the last several months. They've actually shown me their models of these tiers where they're charging like 5.5% on the buy side with their agency agreements. So here's the beauty as a buyer's agent, it's not locking you in to 3%, right? You're not having to say, well, I just have to accept whatever's offered, right? I really want you to think outside the box and think about this is an opportunity for you to actually make more money.
100%. Yeah, this is a pay raise, and it's funny because I was on a call with none other than Mr. Brent Gove. So we'll do this, and I'll say it the way he said it. He's like, "This is going to be great because all the agents are going to have a pay raise." Woo! In like typical Brent Gove fashion. So this is how he's looking at it, and that's the same thing. It's like this is an opportunity to actually make more money. This can be a pay raise if you approach it with that mindset.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's the next question.
Okay, I'm going to come from a little bit different angle. On the short form for the buyer's representation agreement, there is no protection clause in that. Any comments on that?
What form?
On the short form for the buyer's representation contract, when you're only showing a person for one day or on a number of houses, you don't have a full buyer's representation
The
contract.
EXP agreement?
It is.
Yeah, there's also language in there that discusses on the EXP that you're talking about the one pager that EXP provided.
I'm talking about the
Or
Texas,
the Texas Realtors.
Realtors short form.
Yeah, just real quick on the EXP form is that one-page disclosure, like the one property show. It says it does have language in there that an agency agreement will follow, and other documentation will be disclosed. So, anyways.
All right, just real quick, we're going to do one more question. For the question. Okay, go ahead.
So there's short form and long form. So on the short form, it's kind of you're dating. On the long form is you're getting married. So take a look at it that way. That's kind of how I look at that. But
okay.
Yeah. And the
Next
EXP form's the same way.
And then just real quick, so we'll do one more, but these folks aren't going anywhere, right? So after the event, grab them in the hallway, corner them in some corner somewhere, and then get your questions answered. All right, go ahead.
So just wanted some clarity. Is the buy-side commission considered a seller-paid concession now, or is it extraordinary to those interested third-party contributions? The limits by the programs, the 6%, the 3%, the 9%?
That's a good question. So VA made an exception, so they're doing that. Fannie Mae has made an exception. FHA is still working on it, but they will do it as well. So they're still, because of it's being so new, and Fannie and Freddie, all these are government entities, they're just taking a long time to get all their stuff and all their ducks in a row. But as a lender, we're still going to follow the rules we have right now. But it should not affect us in any way. It really shouldn't.
So you're considering it, he mentioned seller concessions.
Correct.
So you're using it as part of the percentages of interested third parties, or extraordinary to that? Extra. So if it was 3%,
it's extra.
concession plus.
It's extra.
Yep. Extra.
And these folks up here, the brokers, can be found in the World, Workplace, and anywhere else, EXP. So you can ask questions. Yeah, and they'll be here for a little while. So, I know there were a lot of questions still, so.
All right, give it up for the panelists.